Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Marvels. This is a 2023 film, rated PG-13 with a runtime of an hour and 45 minutes. I'll be dropping this in two versions. We'll have an abridged version of this video, which will have no spoilers, and then we'll have a longer version of this video, which will have full spoilers, but you will have plenty of warning. I'll try to mark it in the time codes as well. Let's talk a little bit about some of this film and how it's being received as of the recording of this video. We have a Rotten Tomato score of 59%. We don't have an audience score yet, but we do have a letterbox average rating of 3.0%, 3.0 stars. So yeah, pretty aligned. I mean, 59 sounds bad, but that is just a 3-star movie, which I don't think that's bad. I think to me the movie's a little bit better than that, but yeah, a quick synopsis for this film. Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, has reclaimed her identity from the tyrannical Kree and taken revenge on the Supreme Intelligence. But unintended consequences see Carol shouldering the burden of a destabilized universe. When her duties send her to a wormhole linked to a Kree revolutionary, her powers become entangled with that of Jersey City superfan Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, and Carol's estranged niece, now Saber astronaut Captain Monica Rambeau. Together, the unlikely trio must team up and learn how to work in concert to save the universe as the Marvels. This film is directed by Nia DaCosta, written by Nia DaCosta, Megan McDowell, and Elisa Karasik, and it stars Brie Larson as Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, Teyonah Parris as Monica Rambeau, Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel, Samuel L. Jackson returns as Nick Fury. We also have Sawi Ashton as Dar Ben, who is our main antagonist for this film. Um, so yeah, this is as the synopsis mentioned, uh, this is, to me, it was a really fun movie. Like, I was entertained all throughout. It's not perfect, and we'll talk about that in a second. But with a runtime of an hour and 45 minutes, we check all the boxes, we tick all the marks, um, and still end up with plenty of really fun sequences. I think this almost feels to me like a buddy comedy at some point, right? With obviously very different women that are trying to learn, like, you know, who their powers are, or who they are, who their powers are, how do they connect each other, just trying to learn how to work together. Obviously, also we have the responsibility of Captain Marvel, how she feels like not only does she want to save the universe, but she's also kind of responsible now for everything that's going on over here. We have a lot of fun set pieces, really cool action sequences, little montages of stuff that'll just kind of make the film flows overall pretty smoothly. We go from one place to the other, continuing the action. I will say there are some places that, although the story is very linear, the movie feels a little disjointed. Now, I haven't really dove into any of the background of this film or whatever issues they may have been with production, whatever. Especially with the strike, with when it comes to like rewrites or reshoots or all that stuff, whatever. Like, I didn't delve into any of that, so I just know that the film feels a little bit disjointed. Also, it's one of the shorter films on the Marvel, like on the MCU, which to me, this tells me that they really wanted to focus down, and maybe there's some studio interference there into making that film fall under 2 hours. But the time that we're there with these characters, I think it's really fun. Like, Iman Vellani, I think, to me, is the MVP of this. She brings the heart, she brings the fun. If you enjoyed her performance in Ms. Marvel in the TV series, you're really going to enjoy it here, because now she plays in a larger world. She's getting to meet her hero, but that also comes with the whole, edict of maybe don't meet your heroes because they may not live up to that. So she has to kind of deal with that and trying to reconcile those feelings. And of course, we also have Monica and Carol's complicated relationship because they haven't really seen each other in a long time, right? Yeah, there's some really interesting stuff. We go on some, I would call them side quests that maybe they don't really add much to the film. They're still kind of fun to watch. I think I actually really do want to watch this movie again. Um, because I want, now that I know the story and now that I know all the beats and even some of the surprises, like I want to know, like, okay, did I really enjoy this film as much as I think I did, or am I just kind of like, this is the first time you see all this stuff, so it's still pretty shiny and new, which is still an accomplishment of its own. I think I will say the villain, Dar Ben, is very one dimensional, very flat. I think Sally delivers a good performance, but she didn't really have a lot to do other than, go from one place to the other and then fight, fight, fight a little bit. So um, we have some really cool like settings that are beautiful. Like there's some really good costuming that I really thought like, oh, this looks cool and different. Some interesting places that we visit in this film. So I think overall, like, although the stakes maybe were not as high as the film wanted us to feel like they were, um, I still had a really entertaining time. Like I just had a good time at this film. This isn't by any means my favorite film in the MCU, but I wouldn't call it the worst either. I've seen a little bit of the online discourse of this film, and I don't understand why people don't like it as much as they think they do. I think they do like it, but it feels like almost it feels like in the internet nowadays you can't be like in the middle ground or just like something just enough. Like things can be fine and they can just be fine. Um Last thing I'll say, we have a few surprises towards the end of the film, of course, as with any Marvel movie. We have a mid-credits scene, so make sure to stick around for that. There is no end credit scene. You don't have to stay all the way through the credits, but you should. A lot of people work really hard on this film, and I think some of the stuff will definitely. I love sitting on the credits to check out which comic creators are like are given special thanks to, and then also to check out the music because there's a lot. I don't have a very good musical ear, so when I see titles of songs, it gives me a little bit more of like, oh, okay, that's why this song played whenever it did, whatever. And then some of those songs kind of go along with the surprises, so you get a little bit of confirmation of all that. We'll probably have a separate video explaining anything when it comes to cameos, appearances, after credits, like all those, the Marvel checklist, if you will. So, but yeah, overall, enjoy this film. I would put this around a 3.25 stars, which I think it's a fair score as well. Like I said, this isn't the best. This isn't the top tier Marvel film, but I also don't think it's at the bottom. And even the bottom films, to me, like they're still not the worst. But yeah, this is kind of like I would say middle of the pack. It really was reminiscent of like some of the stuff we saw in Phase One, where it was like, oh, this film could just kind of stand on its own for the most part, and still like you don't need to know a lot coming in, you don't need to know a lot going out. You could just enjoy this film for what it is. Like I said, I think my favorite part of this film was the dynamic between Brie Larson, Teyonah Parris, and Iman Vellani. Like Iman Vellani was the glue that kind of held the group together, so that was very enjoyable. So there you have it. Now we're gonna get into spoilers. I'm kind of gonna go through the large beats of the film. So if you haven't seen this film and you don't want to be spoiled, come back and check out this later. All right, so we begin with after the collapse of the Kree Empire, Darben is looking for the quantum bands. Now, we know that Kamala has one because if you've seen Ms. Marvel, you know that she got a bingo from her grandmother, and that's kind of what unlocked her powers. And now Darben is looking for them. She finds one of them, which is kind of what kicks all this stuff into action. Fury calls Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau to investigate some anomalies near those jump points, which these are all things that Darben's doing. I think that the way that they connected their powers was pretty interesting. I will say, I guess Ms. Marvel's come into play because she's wearing a Bengal. That's not very clear in the film of like how she's connected to all this, except that all their powers are kind of like light based, and that you kind of hear that in the in the trailer where like you can produce light, I can see light, which is weird because whatever, and then the Kamala can turn light constructs into solid objects, whatever. So, um, so yeah, when they touch the hyperspace points or the things, they all start switching places. I think the switching places sequences them learning how to control that, them learning how it, like, just them kind of going all over the place. I thought that was really fun. I really love the. It's literally a fish out of water, which is a cool juxtaposition of like Kamala goes into space with the Kree where Captain Marvel was, and she doesn't know what's going on. But she's a superhero. She's a fighter. She knows how to defend herself at least, right? She also gets a little bit of help from Goose. Then we also have Captain Marvel crash landing in Kamala's house and being back on Earth. Very weird. And then we also have, Monica switching places with Kamala, like so all over the place. But all throughout these sequences, it was really Iman Vellani's like just excitement of getting to do superhero stuff that really was kind of infectious while watching the movie. Um, and yeah, this is really fun. So they continue to switch places. They fight Kree enemies. They kind of destroy Kamala's house. Unfortunately, they all finally end up getting together and figuring that they have to go to a refugee colony in the planet Tarnax, where some of the scrolls are now taking refuge because uh, Darben wants so Hala was destroyed. They lost all the resources. So Darben is opening all these little wormholes to steal the atmosphere, water, like all the resources that Hala has lost, including the sun from our solar system. So yeah, this place is destroyed, and this is where the group takes their first big loss. Right, there's a lot of big loss of life. They lose the trust that the scrolls had built in Captain Marvel, which we're seeing that all throughout the MCU. So I wouldn't be surprised if we ever see scrolls again, that they come back as a big full force as an enemy, because we have not, we and I mean that as Earthlings, Nick Fury failed to help them, and now Captain Marvel has also have failed to help them. Uh, Captain Marvel realizes that the next place they're going to go to is a place called Aladna, which is a planet where it's mostly water, but the way they communicate is through via song, which is where you'll see some of those dance sequences from the trailer. And we learned that Carol is actually married to Prince Yan, uh, who like it's amazing because this means that Captain Marvel is a princess, and that was really fun. Like all that stuff, and this planet is really fun. But finally, the big bats come out to the planet, and they tear open a wormhole, drawing all the water into Hala. Right, so unfortunately, once again, they fail. Now, Aladna is a lot stronger of a planet. They have a lot more resources and they can defend themselves a little bit. So it's also their atmosphere isn't being stolen, which means that they won't like suffer completely. Now, throughout all this time, we kind of keep cutting back to Nick Fury and Kamala's family who are up in the Saber Tower. I really felt like some of that stuff was there for comedic effect and not really for story purposes. So it's fine. I think those will be some of the things that I'll notice more on a rewatch. Um, but yeah, so finally, the last place is gonna be stealing the Earth's sun to restore the one that they lost from Hala. Now, it's never explained how they lost the sun. That feels like a little. I understand losing your planet's resources because of a civil war. Maybe as a space force, um, their conflict, the Civil War conflict, damaged the sun. It's never fully explained. It doesn't matter. This is still like it's a goofy, silly story. There's a lot of silliness in this movie that I think if it's not your cup of tea, you're definitely not going to enjoy it. But I was fully on board. Um, but yeah, here we go, and uh, Kamala finally goes into battle with Carol and Monica. They go try to defeat Darben. They end up losing the bands, so now Darben has both of them. She uses them to open up this giant hole to steal the sun. But in doing that, she dies. She's not able to control the power of the bands, because it's been definitely hinted at very heavily that only the chosen few people can actually control the bands, which is why one of the reasons that Kamala found it, because it called out to her. So they have to figure out how to put everything back into place. We end up seeing Monica Rambeau channeling the energy of all three of the Marvels to close out the loop. But unfortunately, this means that the wormhole is going to close with her behind it. So we lose Monica out in space. Everybody goes back to Earth. There's a real fun sequence where all the Flurkins, that there's a the Flurkin goose hatches all these little egglings, and they use that to get back. It's very inconsequential, I think, to the story. Like, it's really just those are the parts that to me felt a little more disjointed. Going every time we visited Sword, because it didn't add anything to the full story, and I was having a better time hanging out with all three other Marvels. So yeah, so we're back on Earth, and that's kind of where we start to wrap things up. So here's where some of the cool things that are part of the larger MCU. So I think this story is finally over. The Marvel story within itself is finally over. So before the credits start rolling, we have a little bit of a prologue, if you will, where Kamala meets up with Kate Bishop. We get to see Lucky the pizza dog, and they discuss. It's homaging or mirroring the scene where Nick Fury first goes to recruit Iron Man and Iron Man, where like Kamala's sitting in a dark room as Kate Bishop walks in. So it's really nice to see Kate again in here. And they talk about like she's recruiting others. She mentions Cassie Lang and some of the other younger superheroes. And then we get to the mid-credit scene, which I'll probably do a full video on. But we see Monica Rambeau awake in a parallel universe where she's greeted by an alternate version of her mother, Maria, and also the mutant beast, Han McCoy, voiced by Kelsey Grammer. You'll probably see some shots of Hank McCoy on the internet floating around for spoilers. So that was really cool. Like, that was a really fun way to end the film. Like, it really hyped me up. So yeah, this film definitely knew how to end on a high note. So even if you didn't like the main story, which I did, even if you didn't like the majority of the film, which I really enjoyed, it's still cool like to have this end credit scene to be like, all right, let's uplift the crowd, right? Let's make them feel like it was worth their time, which it's not the reason you should go to the films. I think you should enjoy the films for what the films are. But if you just love watching all these little, what's the next thing and what's the next thing, then I think this one really paid it off. So they really tried to cover all their bases, and in some aspects they fell short. But overall, I quite enjoyed the film. Like, it was just fun. So yeah, I don't know what it'll rank on my MCU real like full list. Like I said, I really really want to check it. Like, I really want to watch it again, and it's short enough that it will probably allow me to watch it again over this weekend. So really interested to see if word of mouth spreads, and then maybe people kind of get on board with this film. We know the Thanksgiving holidays coming in, so there's going to be not many things to watch in the theater. Like, so this is a great family film. But yeah, big shout out once again to Iman Vellani, MVP of the film. Um, there's some really cool costuming throughout, like for the characters throughout the film, which I really liked, and we get a little bit of newer technology. So hopefully we get to see these characters in the future, because I'm very excited. I think Carol overall had the biggest growth in her arc. I think Miss Marvel realizes that being a hero and meeting your heroes is not all that it's cracked up to be. So there's definitely a little bit of growth for both of the characters. So there you have it. That's the Marvels full review. So thank you for watching, everyone. Stay tuned. We have some stuff for Loki season 2 on the channel. As of you watching this video, make sure to go check that out. Like I said, we'll work on some more videos explaining that end credit scene and talking more about that, maybe speculating a little bit. So yeah, I can't wait to see what the world and the rest of the, like, let's get an audience score in that Rotten Tomatoes to see how this movie really did. So as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone.